Hello, everyone. So, in the last few weeks, I have had a significant increase in the number of subscribers and followers across my various social media platforms, YouTube channel and chats, my Becoming Me podcast, my Instagram account, a couple of the Facebook accounts, as well as the subscribers to my newsletter Begin Again. So, I thought this would be the perfect time to give you some updates. So, for those of you who are new to my content, welcome. Whichever channel it is that you are following me on, welcome. I'm so glad that you found my sharings helpful. I want to introduce myself a little bit more to you so you understand the context of my content. And so you can differentiate it from the other content that's out there and also understand what it is and what it isn't that I do. And for those of you who have been following me for a while, thank you so much for your continued support. I also wish to use this opportunity to update you about where I am and the potential changes that I am discerning regarding how all my content fit together. So stay tuned, whether you're listening to this on the Becoming Me podcast or you're watching this on YouTube channel, because I believe what I'm about to share is pretty significant, not just for me, but also for your better appreciation of the content I share in the context of your own journey, which is, after all, the whole point of why I'm doing this. So my name is Ann Yong and I live in Singapore. If you would like to find out the summary of kind of like my story and how I got to start putting content out there on the internet in the digital space, you can visit my website at integralformation.com so that you can just have a broad overview of my background, which includes a lot of study. Because for me, coming to know God, and I think my search for God, has also always been a very intellectually engaged exercise. Okay. It hasn't stopped there. It has really grown beyond just an intellectual endeavor, because the relationship dimension has also always been really important for me. And I think one way to summarize or describe my ongoing interior journey is that ongoing integration of the intellectual quest to understand, know who God is and who I am, and how I'm called to live my life, with the relational, mystical, faith dimension that goes so far beyond what the intellect can understand, but which also so needs the intellectual dimension to give it some form and to make it possible for me to talk about and convey. People who know me personally often describe me as somebody who is quite effective at communicating experiences. So this is really what my call in digital ministry is very much about. It is about communicating experiences from the interior journey that I believe many of us have, but often find it hard to articulate and name. The action of being able to articulate and name our questions or our experiences is often an important part of supporting ourselves in the journey, of making progress in the interior journey. Even as I hear myself say this, I want to add a counterpoint to what I just said. There is so much of our interior journey that at the same time cannot be named, cannot be described, because spirit and God is ineffable. It's beyond, God is beyond understanding, beyond description. And so is truly our interior journey. But at the same time, we are flesh and blood and we have our intellects. And so those dimensions of the interior journey are also really important and big components of our lived experience. So our quest to understand things, the questions that we ask, and our embodied experiences of how it feels like to be in our bodies, the emotions that are involved in our journey, and often the experience of the internal war within ourselves between our intellect, our heart, our emotions, our bodies, and our spirit, which is often talked about from different perspectives. It could be the theological, could be the spiritual, could be the philosophical, could be the psychological. And I come from that point, or from that perspective, of just the lived experience. So sometimes you will hear me use spiritual language. Sometimes you'll hear me use a bit more theological language. Sometimes you'll hear me use more psychological language, right? Because when you're coming from the perspective of lived experience, that's what it's like. We can't exactly just compartmentalize and categorize our lives into one neat box. So that's really how I see my content contributing to the larger conversation of the interior journey of faith from the perspective from my lived experience as a Catholic. I was baptized when I was 6 years old, so I would say I'm almost a cradle Catholic with a family that are converts. And I've gone through now so many different stages and seasons of the interior journey, and many of those conversion points and experiences have been incredibly challenging, also very, very rewarding. But I want to say that first and foremost, it's so incredibly challenging. And that is also why I want to make the content that I do, because so many of you have, over the last few years since I started putting content out there, have reached out to me and tell me how much what I share from my journey resonates with you. And it is so true that the pain, the challenge, the experience sometimes of almost like a despair and hopelessness that we can't get out of, that sense of being trapped where we are, that all our religious devotion, all our attempts to be holier and more devout, thinking that maybe if we could please God or win his favor by being holier would solve our problems. I think so many of us come from that space without consciously being aware of it. This is such a universal experience. That's what I found. And I have followers and subscribers from so many countries around the world. It has been an incredible privilege to know that my story is accompanying you. I can't describe just how much of a privilege that is. Over the course of my journey, I have discerned what's my personal call. Is God calling me to teach in a more formal capacity? Should I go and study and get a degree in theology? Or does he want me to train and practice as a spiritual director? Or maybe as a counselor or therapist? All of these are questions that I have asked before, and the Lord seemed to be leading me away from those options that other people had asked me to consider. And the longer I live into my vocation, the longer I really try to deepen my relationship with Christ and become freer to hear him and follow him, it seems like I am meant to not be a specialist in any, traditional sense. So whatever you hear me share is from the perspective of an interior pilgrim, a fellow interior journey pilgrim, someone who has experienced a lot of pain and emotional suffering, who has sought clarity, sought God, sought to become free, to know who I am and to come into union with God. My whole life has been entering into this soup of so many things, complex things that make up my experience, that make up my life, and seeking direction and clarity from God. And that journey has just led me to places I never knew existed. So while I will share, and I do often share, resources and insights that I've learned from things that have helped me, and some of those things will be from spirituality, like Ignatian spirituality, which I have found really, really helpful in my own journey, and maybe things that I've learned from different disciplines. You would hear all of that now and then peppered throughout the content that I share. Do remember that I am not sharing as a professional, in the sense of I'm not a therapist or a counselor. I'm not a psychologist professionally. I am not a trained spiritual director. I do not speak with any of that institutional authority. I just want to clarify, okay? But I speak with a different kind of epistemic authority, if you will. Epistemic authority meaning authority that comes from knowledge. And that is the knowledge of someone who seeks all these other resources in the context of drawing closer to Christ. So really it's just an interior pilgrim sharing with you my insights, my learnings, the things that have helped me understand God more, understand the journey more, and especially from the context of a self-identified complex trauma survivor, okay, which is itself something that I've only learned about in the last few years, even though I've experienced it my whole life. When it comes to consuming my content, I just want to say, when something resonates with you and speaks to you and you feel opens up your heart to God, then that's something that you want to stay with and not rush through. On the other hand, if there are things that, like episodes that I share or things that I put out that's really troubling to you or confusing, please do not feel obligated to have to consume it or believe that what I say is applicable to you. Where it is possible, I welcome you to bring what I've shared, how it has connected with you, to the people in your real life, in your actual life, who are accompanying you, right? To your spiritual director, to your spiritual companions, for example. All of that is part of a larger conversation of us learning to discern how the Holy Spirit is speaking to us. So that's how I want you to contextualize my work and the content that I'm doing. The next thing I want to say is that because I've discerned that at this point of my journey, at least, the primary call from me is to share my insights and reflections and also share the resources that have helped me with all of you. That's where the bulk of my time and energy and effort is going into. And it takes a lot of planning and prayer about what it is I'm called to share and then to even share it. Right. So in terms of my public ministry or outward ministry beyond, let's say, my own life and inner circle, this is where I'm pouring my energy out to. And so I do not provide one-on-one accompaniment. I cannot reply every comment. I really do cherish the comments and emails that come in from people who share with me a little bit more about their story, how what I share is connected with them. I really do appreciate every one of those, and I do feel affirmed by them as well. But at the same time, I can't keep up an active, ongoing correspondence. I hope you understand that. Please continue to feel free to reach out to me, to leave comments on my videos or social media, replying the newsletter that I send out and letting me know how it has spoken to you. All that also provides me with data for continued discernment as to where the Lord is asking me to go. So at this point, I want to share the update as to where I am in my journey right now and how that's going to impact the content that I'm putting out. So I started the Becoming Me podcast in 2020. Okay, and that was the first thing that I really started putting out. It's an audio-only podcast. So there are 75 episodes on the Becoming Me podcast that isn't anywhere else, that you cannot find on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching this update on YouTube, I want you to know that there are 75 really rich episodes, okay, that are in an audio-only format. And you can find that on my podcast website or on my main website as well. I will list all of that in the show notes below. I really welcome you to listen to the earlier episodes, especially where I lay out certain foundational principles about this interior journey. So because the source of my content is my interior journey and my own lived experience, that will always be the first priority in my life. So this year, in 2024, in my interior life, there continues to be very big milestones that I'm going through, which I haven't shared publicly yet because it's not time yet. I'm not ready yet. But it has had a real impact on my capacity, and also it has prompted me to discern, where is this all pointing to, right? God continues to reveal to me with greater clarity and greater specificity what it is He's calling me to do. and I need to be able to obey that. Okay, I want to be able to obey that. So two things you're going to see happening across my social media content in time. One is consolidation. I really do need to see how I can simplify my process and conserve my energy and not be so active or present across the different social media channels. You will find out as I decide which ones to close or cease being present on. You will be informed on that channel, okay? And you'll be invited to where I will be present, okay, where I will continue to show up. So first is consolidation. And secondly, I have been feeling this growing pull to enter a deeper season of discernment because I sense a kind of pivot or turn coming. And I really need to draw more of my resources into discerning and deepening my own experience and equipping myself as well for where the Lord is sending me. So in the coming weeks and months, you will probably see a slower pace of new content being put out. I ask that you keep me in your prayers. If you have just recently discovered me, I want to invite you to use this opportunity to explore the content that I've already put out there. And there's quite a lot of content already, to take your time with them. They're not meant to be rushed through. Sign up for my newsletter, Begin Again, which itself has been on a bit of a hiatus because I am also discerning how to better incorporate that medium of communication with my subscribers, with the rest of the content. I want things to become more integrated. I'm well aware that with all these changes, some of you may find that the content that I'm putting out or my newsletters and reflections are no longer speaking to you where you are on this journey. And I just want to encourage you, if that's the case for you, to unsubscribe, unfollow. Please do. I do not want to contribute to noise in anyone's life. And with all my heart, I really just hope that whatever it is that God puts in my heart to put out there, that it will reach the people it's meant to reach. Thank you for continuing to follow my content, supporting me, encouraging me in my own journey. Know that for every person who is reading my content or listening or watching what I'm putting out there, everything that I put out is with a great deal of spiritual energy and with prayer that the Lord may speak to you and that you may receive exactly what you need at this point in your life, no more and no less. God be with you.